Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Hey, we're going to go back in our time machine only about a week ago, a little less than that, to a terrible incident that took place in downtown Seattle. Resulted in 3 people being shot, one of them fatally. But it goes to show us a much bigger picture. And as you know, we like to use real-life examples that are either teachable moments or learning opportunities. And this is going to give us, unfortunately, the opportunity to do both. And it's going to prove something that most of us already know. So again, we're just going to have to use a terrible real-life example to highlight that point. So today, let's spend a few minutes and let's talk about proof, once again, that gun laws don't save lives. Okay, the story we're talking about took place in downtown Seattle, so it will have interest from the hometown crowd. But the truth is, America, all of you can learn. Dateline, Tuesday, May 27th, downtown Seattle, Washington, the intersection of 1st and Union. Used to be a good neighborhood. Seattle police called to a call of shots fired. They show up and they find not 1, not 2, but 3 people wounded. According to the story that we're using to help us with this video, which comes from Como 4 News, investigators learned the following. Investigators said the shooting stemmed from an argument between 3 people, and during that argument, one man shot 2 victims. That's when a bystander with a concealed weapons permit shot the gunman, according to SPD. Police said the bystander was not involved in the argument. Okay, so like I said, 3 wounded, 1 unfortunately deceased. The deceased, however, was the individual responsible for the altercation, and shockingly, I know this is going to shock you, America, it was a 16-year-old kid with a firearm. Okay? So for all those gun laws that we've passed and all those gun laws that we've shoved down the throat of lawful and responsible gun-owning Washington residents, what we have here is a 16-year-old kid shooting a 17-year-old kid and an 18-year-old kid and then being shot by a bystander. Now, the bystander completely cooperated with the investigation, according to a statement by the Seattle Police Department, which is also linked up down below, and no charges were filed, and he was ultimately released from the scene after answering questions. Translation, albeit the King County prosecuting attorney will ultimately decide whether or not charges will be filed. When an investigation that results in a fatal shooting results in police releasing the individual that night, the evidence is obviously stacking up that this was a completely lawful shoot. Now, just so you know, Washington, remember that under Washington law, you can only use lethal force if any one of the following occur, and that is, number 1, you are in imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury, which could have been the case here. We don't know whether or not the firearm was turned toward the bystander, but another way that lethal force could be used is 2, somebody else in your presence is in imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. And that clearly is the case because both the 17-year-old and the 18-year-old were shot in the bystander's presence. 3, you have a felony being committed upon your person, which again, if this individual turned towards him, there could be a potential felony assault about to take place. And then finally, 4, a felony is being committed inside your home. So it appears, in all likelihood, that the lawful and responsible gun-owning Washington resident acted within the confines of Washington self-defense law, within the confines of Washington lethal force law, and shockingly, the only thing that ended up stopping the bad guy with a gun, oh yeah, that's right, it was the good guy with the gun. You see, because we have the perfect microcosm of what really is our problem. We have an unlawful individual engaging in unlawful activity, using a firearm in an unlawful way to commit a crime, and guess what? Not a single one of Washington State's gun laws actually stopped it. But then you have a lawful and responsible CPL carrying Washington resident right there who sees other people whose lives are clearly in imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury and does in fact become their own first responder and acts within the confines of law and ends the threat. Now, it's going to be really interesting to see what Mayor Harrell says. He has said nothing to date. Now, obviously, the most awkward mayor in America has finds himself in an even more awkward position. He will continue to run more and more and more to the left because he believes that's where he is vulnerable. But let us not forget, Washington, that for as much as the state of Washington has shoved bad gun law after bad gun law down your throat, the city of Seattle, if they had had things their ways, would have made things much worse. Let us remember that they decided that they were going to do away with state preemption law and turn all of their parks into gun-free zones. It required a successful lawsuit. Let us also remember that they were one of the innovators of the gun and ammunition tax. Let us also remember that while they are clamoring for you to be disarmed, they are at the same time defunding their police department to the point where the police department now is running at 50% capacity, and every community in Seattle is far less safe today than it was 8 years ago. Oh, and then let us remember that every year when the legislature gets back in session, who's down in Olympia clamoring to do away with state preemption law so that they can pass their own civilian disarmament bills? That's right, it's the city of Seattle. So Mayor Harrell, Governor Ferguson, all the yahoos in the state legislature, and the Seattle City Council, we want you to know that despite the fact that you keep telling us that we don't need guns, and despite the fact that you keep passing legislation telling all of us that we don't get guns, at the current time, Washington is at an all-time high with over 705,000 lawful CPL holders, which tells me one thing, that no matter what the politicians say, and no matter what the mainstream media says, Washington, well, they see things differently. Listen, Mayor Harrell, if you were a real mayor, rather than the perpetual victim that you always play yourself to be, you'd have this individual down to City Hall and you'd give him a medal. But you and I both know that there's no way that's ever going to happen. And that is the tragic and violent proof, yet again, that demonstrates that gun laws simply just don't save lives. Listen, if you got any questions about this or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you guys should know how to get a hold of Washington gun law by now. But if you don't, that's okay. That information down there in the description box. If you got an idea for a video we should be doing around here, you click on that link right there and you tell us all about it. If you want to subscribe to the monthly newsletter, that information is down there in the description box. And then finally, and most importantly, let's everyone remember that part of being a lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching. Stay safe.